Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Odessa the Dark Crusade Season 2. And this evening, uh, the uh, the Eponius Sedite, or the Eponymous, sorry. Actually, it doesn't actually make any sense. The Iconic Sedite. There we go. A word that actually makes sense. Sedite Solahdrin has taken pains to contact the Seneschal of Odessa. A fairly urgent message relating to a very dangerous figure roaming the region of the county. And about a night has passed since then, and Solahdrin has received a message delivered to the dead drop. To meet him in the back room of a tavern in the Western Farmlands. It is about as far out and nondescript as you can get. It is so utterly it's so far removed from the city and any semblance of importance. This is a very unimportant location. Of course, the Western Farmlands is fairly fairly secure. There's an active military presence and a military fort close to the farmlands, and there are regular patrols from both the city watch and the military. As Solahdrin heads down, likely I assuming in obfuscate, because
sneaky
snakes. I know your MO. He sees, again, a fairly nondescript village. There are several of these villages and hamlets surrounding Odessa that kind of fall under its government. There's most of them are to the west, and fairly close to the river. But there's one that's just kind of an outlier, just kind of a bit further, kind of on the southern outskirts of the farmlands, a bit further away from the river, and that is for lack of a better term, address of the tavern that you've been given. It exists within this little hamlet, which is really just a small row of houses on a road, a few houses a few hundred yards off the road, closer to viable farmland, and then a tavern and a small market, and that's about it. It's about as sparse as a hamlet can be. It's really the bare minimum requirements for what can be considered a populated human settlement.
Solahdrin pulls his cloak around him. He adjusts the bandages that cover his flesh. As he stalks forward towards the tavern.
Yeah. You would have been told in your letter to use the back entrance. It will have been left unlocked.
Okay. Around the back he goes. Back.
Yeah. You enter through the back door. Takes you into how to say it takes you into storage. That's the word I'm looking for. It takes you into storage. And then there's just an additional room off to the right, which leads into which is really again just more storage, that is fairly empty. And there is the Seneschal, who is actually just standing in this rather uninspired, lonely, empty, unimpressive space. Like he's probably leaning against the wall or something. There is no table. There are no chairs. There's nothing really. There's maybe a couple barrels and a crate. And that's about it. That's what you have for seating. And when you enter, what's that? Pardon?
I'm just going to say the snake bows because it's Seneschal.
Seneschal just nods. Solahdrin, thank you for meeting me here.
I do this in this manner, noble sir, because it is I owe you a boon, and because it is I feel that without your ability to intercede, soon the princedom of Edessa will be no more but ash and memory. I just felt I should state this before our conversation begins in earnest.
He gestures with his hand and will say, by all means, then continue.
Has Lady Madeline already spoken to you as to what it is she perceived in our trek to Ebla?
She has made arrangements to speak with me. We have yet to contact. We have yet to meet in person.
Lady Irene, has she spoken to you?
Like Madeleine, arrangements have been made, but you are the first that I've had the opportunity to speak with regarding your excursion southwards.
May I ask a personal question, Seneschal? Where was it you lived before you did not live? Which lands did you call home?
Let me look it up. He Iberia. The Southern Peninsula, to be specific.
Where is that, Bishop?
Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula is.
So he's
It's basically the
He's
southwest
Spanish.
corner. Yeah, he's basically the southwest corner of Spain.
Oh, he's a Moor, basically, by lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's kind of bordering Africa and all that.
He will say, then I shall begin my story. Because it is that if you do not act, noble sir, this city will be swallowed in a darkness far blacker than any shadow cast by mortal man. So, we went to Ebla, a place lost to its own time, a place wherein the spirits dwell, thick and heavy, the spirits of the dead, but not just the dead, the spirits of those who were sacrificed long ago in dark and bloody rites in Ebla. Forgotten. And so when we arrived, it became clear there was another presence within the city. It became clear that they could see us, they could feel us, even under the cloak of obfuscate. They knew, oh, how they knew that we were there. And so rather than be the sneak thief in the night, I decided a different approach was needed. And so I sat in the square of Ebla, where it was that coin had once changed hands, where people had eaten and laughed and had community together. That place was heavy and thick with their resonance, with their lost lives that were weighted heavy upon the ground. And there we built a fire, and I invited the spirits of the dead to join us there with an offering of blood. Because it is that you must nourish the spirits, noble Seneschal. I don't know if your culture does the same, but in ours we must always feed the hungry dead, for them to pay attention, for them to listen and to hear us.
He doesn't really respond. He just gestures for you to continue.
And there, neath the moon that was not a moon, neath the dark, unforgiving twilight, did I see what Mary the Black had done long ago, when it was she split open the ground neath Ebla into a pit so black the sun itself could be swallowed whole and not a speck of light would remain, as thousands of voices cried in exaltation and fear in the moment of their deaths, sacrificed to a dark, unforgiving God, long forgotten its name. She opened this pit in Ebla. But this was not just a vision of the past come to taunt me. No. This was a vision of what was yet to come. For Mary the Black seeks to reopen this great maw to nothing, this great edifice to pain and death. This is why she seeks her tablet pieces, because together I believe that they are the pact between her and her dark master, in order to once again open a portal, a causeway to damnation. And I saw into the pit, and the pit saw into me. And in that moment I understood the games, I understood the folly of it all. For we are not playing as pieces on a board. Edessa is not on the board. We are playing a game that is much grander still. For someone who knows only hatred, someone who knows only loss and pain, seeks to end, seeks the silence of the grave. But I get ahead of myself. I shall continue. We walked the streets of Ebla as the others were drawn on in a trance. Yes, moving as if like puppets upon strings into the great palace that once stood there. And so they exulted as they were both shown images that I was not, unfortunately, images by Mary the Black herself, who stalked us still unseen. She had made herself clothed in shadows so deep you could not pierce, or possessed the powers so strong she could be there and not all at once. And there it was she spoke, the calumnies, the consternation of her world. So we sit, She pointed us to another piece of her tablet, as if to say, my children, take it. It means nothing. I can snatch these back with bloodied hand when I choose. This is folly. I let you read my story. Come to me, children. I let you know because you mean nothing but dust to me. And so we did. I read her story. I knew another piece of her tale. Because she does not see us as a threat. She knows that in the blink of an eye, she could undo us, like it was when as the clock struck darkest midnight. I offended her by referencing the relationship she had with the Patriarch of Constantinople, Lord Michael, long ago. Michael, whom, if her own words are to be believed, she killed, she took into herself, she eliminated his life, snuffed out. But when I insulted her love, at the stroke of midnight, she brought the light of the sun down upon me, even in the darkness that surrounded us all. And at this point, he will unweave the bandages that are on his face and on his hands to show the sun-blackened ruin of his face and his body. And he will say, at midnight she called down the sun upon me, my lord, and she did not even stand before us. She was far away in Edessa, where she still is now. She sits and she plots because it means nothing to her. We take her tablet pieces and she knows no fear. Though I sense I may have found the Achilles heel to all of this. But I can only help in the situation in which I am needed. And you see, sir, great, noble sir, she could reach out her blackened hand from whatever hell it is that she creates for herself and crush any of us she chose, with a few notable exceptions. You are one of these exceptions. Edessa will be used as the next fulcrum, the next great bastion of life to be snuffed out and consumed by this pit, this newly awakened hell. That is what I believe she will do. Edessa will yawn open like a cancer, a canker that will infect all before it with disease, malady, and death untold. But you may be able to stop her. You may be the only one here, save the wishing woman who cares only for her flock of ne'er-do-wells, who has the strength of blood and the age to even put a stopper in her plans. You, sir, you, noble sir, must take action. The city needs a prince who can actively stop this doom that hurtles towards us, this doom that fast approaches us, this doom that will wend us all to nothing but ash. You, sir, need to step to the throne because you have the ability to hold it. On a side note, that was an epic story. I even liked how I told that myself.
The Seneschal, throughout all of this, you see that he is listening attentively and also calmly. The only thing that you could deem would draw a reaction, like a noteworthy one, would be when you kind of reveal your charred flesh and you talk about the sun being drawn into the night, as it were. And that causes him to stroke his chin a little bit, in a habitual fashion. Once you are done, There's a moment of silence. There's, one of his hands gently wraps around the lower part of his face, and he just looks upwards. He seems to process all of this very calmly and thoughtfully. Not emotionlessly. It's more of a sort of. It's more like he's being attentive.
Mm-hmm.
And you say these. Do you perceive to be these future events will occur within Ebla?
Yes and no. I believe that she wishes once more to yawn open the pit that she built in Ebla long, long ago, for whatever purpose I do not know. However, I believe that Edessa still will be rendered asunder in order to provide the blood and the lives needed once again in order to fuel the great pit in Ebla. For when I heard it open the first time, I heard the voices of 10,000 screams exult in terror before they were snuffed out.
Hmm. You stated that there was a tablet there that was taken. Who is in possession of it now, to your knowledge?
Lady Madeline has taken it. She wishes to take the tablet with her to a far distant land and there sink into torpor with it to deny it to the enemy, but it won't make a difference. Ultimately, these tablets each contain a shard of her soul within, an element of that blackened, withered thing that was long ago shattered and broken. So she always knows where they are. She senses their connection. He leans in very, very close and he says, "But I now know how to unmake them. I can do it. But in order to do this, there would need to be much sacrifice."
He looks up again, thinks for a few seconds. I believe you are correct in that it is time to act on this matter. Conventional means of rooting out this figure have proven ineffectual at best.
There is a reason for this, great noble sir, and it is unfortunately a reason that Her Highness has allowed to fester within the city for far too long. How is it do you think that these infernalists are pursuing their goals within the walls of this city? They are being protected by members of the court. One or more of the city's Canaanite population is helping and supporting them with access to material, rare objects, and lore, things that are unseen to most unless you know where to look. There are three clans, he pulls up his fingers, three clans who could do this. Mine does not, because we would never side with a servant of Apep, a servant of the devourer, a servant of the enemy of our God. And he says that with a lot of honesty. Like, that is an honest statement. From his perspective, no Setite would follow a servant of Apep, because we wouldn't. It would be anathema to us. The other two, however, well, the prince has taken the blood traitors
and nursed them to her bosom. They know the secrets. They know the old names. They know these things. They could. That or the children of Hakim who lost their way, who now worship false. Shh! We don't mention the run of Apex. I'll fight you.
What?
Nothing.
Isn't he a giant snake though?
To be fair, what we consider to be APEP is not what APEP is. It's really weird. Like, APEP is the enemy of Set, but then again, he's also kind of Set from our perspective. Moving on. Cosmology.
Fucking theology. Anyway.
But he'll say, the Assamites have long since lost their way. They have lost their path to Hakim. And so they are listless, but they do know the old magics. One of these the prince cradles to her and protects. And they are also the ones who have the key to our salvation, noble sir. Let me ask you a question. Do you know why Abraham's fountain is so powerful?
It doesn't take a genius to figure out why Abraham's fountain is so powerful. It is a holy site for the three largest religions on the planet.
Yes, but it is not holy because of any action that a god did or did not take, or a man who was God did or did not take, or a man who ascended to be God did or did not take. It is powerful because of the faith people place in the concept of that thing, because of the idea, because they worship the idea of that thing, because the faith itself gives it power, gives it strength. If I was to have 1,000,000 people worship Asmar, the great and powerful goat, so it was Asmar would become a great and powerful goat. Because that is the way of things. The Tremere have positioned themselves at the heart of this city within Abraham's fountain, the one item that has the power to shatter these tablets, I believe. I threw water from Abraham's fountain upon one of the tablets. There was a great storm of fire, and the power in the tablet was greatly diminished, and that was only a single vial of water.
There have been attempts made in the distant past to sanctify and as such destroy these tablets. When such experimentation has involved the application of the power known to more experienced Cainites as the true faith, it has generally led to what you have described: a powerful, almost adverse chemical reaction, which then renders the tablet inert for a time period, usually a fairly lengthy one, depending on the strength of, well, faith, the force anathema to that which lies within the tablet, but it has never been able to destroy them.
Then again, have they ever used such a potent source of faith as something where the three major world religions gather to pray? Ultimately, to everything there must be a counter, to every up there must be a down.
There is the briefest look on of... It's fleeting. There's a fleeting look of amusement on the Seneschal's face as he says, I remember the last time we tried something so ambitious, although it was rather crude in its application. It involved the tossing of one of these clay tablets into the fountain itself.
How did that go?
It almost burned down the city and destroyed the one who committed the act.
But was the tablet itself rendered damaged?
It has been rendered inert ever since, but it was not destroyed. Perhaps this is because there is a level of complexity to the layers of protection on a tablet that simple force that faith itself cannot destroy.
No, noble Seneschal, you're wrong, if I may say. You have to tell this like a story. I've been reading the Old Testament of this new religion. I've come to understand it. I think that what you're missing here is the power of faith is undeniable. That is a very powerful force. However, it needs to be focused through a lens. Someone of good spirit and faith willingly sacrificing themselves as a martyr with the tablet in their arms. That is the ultimate good act to counter the ultimate act of evil and depravity.
A shame we killed one of those.
There lies two as yet remain within Edessa, noble sir. Two possibilities. Ironically, one of them is Mary the Black's chosen for her ritual, or at least she believes herself to be Mary the Black's chosen for her ritual to spill open the world, because she will sacrifice goodness on an altar of evil, whereas we must sacrifice good upon the altar of the same. Your dear clanmate, Lady Irene, is to be her chosen sacrifice.
I can imagine it, but she is not possessed of the faith as much as she wishes to be.
No, but that does not necessarily make a difference. What is faith? Faith is a concept. If you as an individual are willing to die, to martyr yourself upon the altar of your beliefs, to make yourself in that moment one with the God whom you kneel and pray to, perhaps that is enough for him to look down upon you and smile, should he exist.
True, but it is a net. There's a fairly wide net being cast.
Lady Irene speaks with Mary the Black, or rather Mary the Black speaks with Irene when she chooses to. They have some kind of relationship. I would almost say Mary the Black seemed to care in an odd way of calumny for the child. She seemed to be almost connected to her. I think that this is the connection that is the link between the two. I think that ultimately Can good slay evil? Well, it must make the attempt to do so.
Wait. Oh, one moment, everybody. It appears someone DC'd.
I may have moved the wrong button.
You definitely did. The Seneschal says, that is something I have to inquire with Irene about when I meet her, which will be soon. I intend to meet her, shall we say, very shortly after this meeting.
Oh, sorry, continue.
As for myself, you can rest assured it will not require me claiming the city as praxis and potentially starting another war to get things moving.
Solahdrin looks up at him with eyes that actually have a very odd intent, and he says, how would he phrase this? Bishop, how would you phrase asking an elder, do you want me to kill the prince?
I'm
trying to think of the correct phrasing.
Something about removing obstacles. I don't.
He will look up and he will say, and what if there was no obstacle to stand in your way to the claiming, if you could simply walk to the throne unopposed?
Prince, well, Seneschal. Well, I do not believe you were present for the last time such a thing happened. But when it did, well, the truth is I was volunteered by other individuals. As for the current situation, I do not believe anybody needs to die. At least not among the officials of court. The issue of Mary the Black is a very, very easy subject to rally behind and around. Whatever action would need to be taken on her removal and destruction would be taken. Much of this information has proven very valuable, particularly the location matters regarding Irene and the tablet itself. Of course, that is not within your possession.
Solahdrin will, however, recount, because I did write it down. He will hand the Seneschal a folded piece of paper that contains what the tablet says, in case he's interested, because I also don't know out of character, else I just read it.
Yep, this is a latter page. It discusses from the author's perspective as the siege hasn't just taken root, but at this time is not only clearly looking to be both victor and destroyer, but also how the absence of a certain figure it is slowly gnawing away at the sanity of the author. At this point, there is clear desperation, still in denial, but it's a very it's a very fake, weak attempt to hide such a thing. It is this is written from someone who is clearly desperate and not entirely sane at this point. They appear to be both desperate yet obsessive.
Cool. Well, he will hand that to the Seneschal, just in case he'll hand him a copy of all of the tablets, because I don't know if he's read them all. Because I have them. I have a collection of them all.
I don't think you ever gave any translations to him, so this will be the first time, at least in regards to you.
Mm-hmm.
He could have read them in theory, but he needs someone with that skill set. He will take the translation. Thank you. This will prove fundamental in establishing Mary's motives and corroborating the rest of your discoveries.
Ultimately, Seneschal, I am happy to continue on this path. However, I will require certain rights and protections if you wish more answers.
He looks up and thinks again, and obviously the third time it's very noticeable when he does it. Seems to be a habit of his to do. He seems it's very much him almost emphasizing that he is thoughtful. That is something that can be arranged when I have discussed matters with the other two Canaanites in question. I also need to corroborate your findings with the rest of the evidence the court has acquired.
He will nod.
Need I give a small piece of advice, Seneschal? You have the power to do so. I would think that auditing the holdings of clans Assamite and Tremere might be an excellent
stepping stone.
It will be taken into consideration.
Good. I live to humbly serve.
You've done well on what you have gathered here. Is there anything else you need to report?
No. Nothing of significance. With your permission, in that case, noble Seneschal, I will withdraw.
Good evening to you.
May your footsteps be forever found in shadow. I know what it is for them to feel the burning blaze of the sun. He will bow again.
Seneschal will nod again in acknowledgement. He's kind of got both his hands clasped together at his waist, and yeah, you're free to leave. And
I'm gonna snake my little ass out of there. Snake.
you snake on out of there. No one really notices you. That you entered or left. No one is coming at all. You've heard no noise.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that did enter the other room was obviously very, very quiet about it.
He puts up his obfuscate and will sneak away.
And yeah, you head on out. Yes. I know you wanted to meet with a certain foreign prince.
No, it's fine. This guy is going to talk to him anyway. I gave him the Irene information because I felt, shit, fuck it, there's no point in holding back. So ultimately the Seneschal's probably going to talk to Ulrich and it's going to be a sad day and I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the Seneschal's Ulrich's grandson or anything. Nothing can go wrong here.
Between your honor to the clan and your waifu.
But the waifus.
What's the waifu? I mean, does he have an Irene body pillow though?
I mean, I know which one I die for.
No, but the only thing he wants to do is, and now it's become more pressing, but I don't think this has to be a scene. He's going to go and talk to his primogen, and the reason he's going to go and talk to his primogen is she is actually now too valuable to remain in Edessa in a weird way. So this is going to accelerate his plan to let's knock over another minor city in the area, set up a Setite princedom so we can transfer all our really valuable shit over there in case this city burns to the ground, because it might.
It might. It's true. It might.
I mean, and we've got a really, really nice... all of our shit lives here, Bishop. Won't somebody please think of our shit?
There are Setites in Antioch. They're treated like shit, but they exist.
Yeah,
and in Tarsus. Tarsus is nice, kind of. It's that there are a few there.
Can we go knock over Tarsus?
You could try, I guess.
Hooray! Mass murder.
Mass murder everybody. Anyway, yeah, you speak of your primogen. You put her in.
She gets all of the same stuff the Seneschal got,
Nice.
only with more snake.
Only with more snakes. You just throw a snake at her and then you give her the information. But yeah, I think with that, as the meeting comes to a close and then another meeting of the Sedite Primogen is had, we can end our scene there. Thank you, Claire, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and we'll see you all next time.